What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and we know that you're pissed. You're pissed off because the Dallas Cowboys lost on Sunday to the Denver Broncos, 30-16, the final score. We are here, as we always are on Tuesday, for our live stream roundtable here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe. We have, suspended. We have not suspended any of these people. We have, in fact, assembled a wide array of geniuses and personalities to discuss America's team this particular evening, going in clockwise order. It is Aidan Davis, who you can read on the pages at bloggingtheboys.com, making you smarter, making you wiser. Next up in our 3 o'clock position, it is the one and only Tom Ryle, who you can also read at BTB and you can hear on the Blogging the Boys podcast network every Thursday on Riled Up, where you can also hear our roundtables if you do not check them out on YouTube. And if you don't, shame on you. You can also hear the audio stylings of Tony Catalina, who is here with us this particular evening. Tony does our daily update shows. He is fantastic at it. And joining us this evening in about the 7 o'clock portion of the clock, appropriately so given the time change and whatnot, is the new father. Granted, he was already a father, but now a father of two, Dave Sturchio from Jersey Boys from Chop Sports. Sturch, congratulations on the birth of your son. I'm surprised you're even standing or sitting upright at this particular moment in time.
I wish I was a coffee drinker. I'm not. So I have to figure out different ways to caffeinate myself and keep myself going. But yeah, thank you guys. We got a new member of Cowboys Nation.
So you're not a coffee drinker. You like a 5-hour energy shot? You a Monster guy? Like what's your cup of tea here?
I've fallen into the Rain energy drinks. I mean, that's similar to, I guess you could say, the Bang energy drinks. They're all the same. They just got 300 milligrams of caffeine, and I just, I'm on my way. So that's
okay. I have a cup of coffee with me right now. Aidan, I know you're a coffee drinker. Tony, are you a cup of Joe guy?
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. If you see a cup of coffee in front of me, I'm exhausted.
Okay, so you do drink it. You just lied.
Once every 6 months. I usually get good sleep.
Okay, Tom, do you brew yourself some coffee beans? Do you rely on Red Bull? I mean, what's your speed here?
My Keurig is my life.
Okay. That's a great way to put it.
I don't drink. I wouldn't say every morning, but probably 5 or 6 days a week. I've got to have coffee, get going. Sometimes I just get up, get going, and kind of forget it, but usually, I got to have my cup of coffee, frequently out on my deck, which is a great way to get the day started.
Yeah, well, this particular Monday morning, I wouldn't have blamed you if you slipped some Kahlua in there. It was a rough day following Sunday's festivities for the Dallas Cowboys. Marlo, excuse me, we are still Dem Boys for life. I don't think anybody's wavering in their loyalty to Cowboys Nation. Aidan, but it's been a rougher week than usual. Aidan, I mean, it's not as fun to get blown out that it is to just kind of beat everybody in their way.
Yeah, and I think the disappointing part about it is we're just starting to get confident of, man, this team's not going to drop that game. They're not going to lose the one that they were supposed to win. And then Sunday happens, and now we're kind of back to square one.
Yeah, the way I put it, not that I'm a genius or anything, but it felt like the first tug of the thread. We've all had that shirt that we've all loved forever, and then it's like, oh no. It's got a hole. It's just and you're scared that this is the beginning of the unraveling. Sturch, we'll go to you first. This has been a very common take in the aftermath of Sunday's loss to the Broncos. It was a gross sort of day, but Sturch, a lot of people out here saying it was needed. The Cowboys needed this kind of loss to really have, the common sense slap back into them, I suppose. Do you agree? Obviously, nobody is glad it happened. Is this just trying to put lipstick on a pig, Sturch?
No, it's absolutely that way. I mean, Mike McCarthy was asked, and he said, "No, we didn't need this at all." And I took that, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? He's got a point. We didn't need this." My co-host of the Jersey Boys podcast, Brett Ernst, said the same thing during a text. We need this. This is something that this will definitely wake us up. This will set us up for success for the rest of the way. This just gave me flashbacks of last year. I don't want to see any of this run defense. Everything was just terrible. And Dak Prescott, of all people, he just looked just out of sorts, so I don't think we necessarily needed it. Do I think the Cowboys might have been, eating the cheese or smelling themselves or whatever the cliche is? Maybe. And maybe that'll help us out a little bit down in the long run. But again, You got to beat these bad teams. That makes you the special team that you are. You know, if you go out there and lay a stinker against the Washington football team next, or the Giants come out and sneak one in December, these are the games you just can't let go of. You cannot lose these games. Yes, AFC game, fine, put that away. It won't really affect us in the tie-breaking scenarios right off the rip, unless there's 15 teams tied or whatever. But, like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the whole we needed this. I want to beat the brakes off the bad teams. But it just so happens that after watching some of the film, I don't think the Broncos are that bad of a team. So,
Aidan, I think the most troubling element to Sunday's loss wasn't just that the Cowboys got lambasted. It's that Dak Prescott looked weakened. It's that Dak was not able to do, and it's one thing to lose the way the Cowboys lost at the beginning of last season, where their defense is terrible, but their superhero goes down swinging. But this was not the case. Do you think that's maybe the biggest shock effect here?
I think so. And it was weird just because we haven't seen a game from Dak Prescott. Like, yes, 2020 was bad, but in the 5 games that Dak played, he looked incredible. And so it was weird not only to see him just missing throws, but there were throws that weren't even close to the receiver. That one 3rd down play where the ball was tipped and then there was evidence that nobody touched it. It was throws like that were concerning, but we can put this behind us. That was Dak's. It was a bad game from Dak, an off day. It happens. There was 0 reason to be concerned about Dak. And if anybody is, just wait for the Falcons game. It was just one bad game. No reason to panic.
Tom, how much do you subscribe to the idea? Jesse Falls chimes in and says here, we can't expect for them to go 17-0. So how much do you subscribe to this was going to happen? That they're going to regress to the mean. They're not going to blow everybody out. This is the NFL. It's the league of parity. Are those things we just are using to soothe ourselves, or is that real? I mean, like, where are you at there?
Well, I figure they had to lose some games down the stretch. I mean, let's face it. If at the end of the season they're sitting at something like 13-4 and in the playoffs, and hopefully not in the 4th seed, because there's a chance they're going to wind up playing.
That's where they are today, by the way. Not that
they
do, but if the playoffs started today, they'd host the Rams in the wild card round.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. We don't want to. We would rather not see that happen, but nonetheless, it was such a weird game. I don't know exactly what to take away from it, because it's hard to figure out why everything went bad. Because this was the worst Dak looked since the post Adrian Claiborne game, when he got sacked so many times. So maybe there's a certain symmetry to the fact that he's got a chance to get right against the Atlanta Falcons after that game got him wrong for so long.
Like a phoenix rising out of the ashes, Tom.
Yeah, but it wasn't just him. I mean, I'd seen that both Tony Pollard and Amari Cooper hadn't dropped a pass all season. Both of them dropped passes that would have been first downs and hopefully got the team moving. There was the freaky rule on the block punt that just, it's one of those rare occasions that almost never happens, and yet it happened to the Cowboys and killed a chance to maybe get something going. The defense was just bad. Outside of Micah Parsons, it seemed like everybody was missing assignments and going the wrong direction. And just, Trayvon Diggs had his worst game of the season. So it's hard to say. Just sometimes, the stars misalign, and just all this bad luck seems to happen all at once. I can't remember seeing a game where it all just came together like this. So now the coaching staff has to figure out how to make sure these guys get their heads back in it, because that was a big issue. Their heads did not seem to be in the game for some reason. So, I don't want to say everything happens for a reason. I want to say that anything that happens, you can give a reason to. So now it's up to the coaches to give them a reason to get better and correct these issues and play a better game.
Put that on a fortune cookie, Tom. Anything that happens, you can give a reason to. Tony, I was going to say that you are our resident homer, but Dave Sturchio is on the stream tonight. So there is a battle for who is drinking the Kool-Aid or who is chugging it at a faster rate between the two of you. But Tony, you are also our Chicken Little. You are the one who panics the most easily when it comes to certain things. And so I saved this question specifically for you, Tony, because I've listened to all three of these homers, Sturch and Aidan and Tom. Everything's fine. The Cowboys going to win the Super Bowl, etc. So, Tony, I put it to you. What are we actually worried about after Sunday? So, like a real thing that you are now worried about that you were not before Toe met the ball against the Broncos.
Simply, the defense scared me. I mean, the running game, stopping the running game it wasn't good, and wasn't really particularly great before that. I think that there's been some gashing going on before that, and that kind of just opened the eyes a little bit. As far as like Dak Prescott goes and stuff like that, I'm less worried about that. I think that game is more of an anomaly than anything. Like he's going to be fine. Dak Prescott is, like I said, Tom mentioned it. This could be the game where he goes out there and it's 400 yards with 4 touchdowns, and you're like, what Broncos game? So I'm worried about the defense. Like, I mean, if they're not playing assignment football, and I think people in this group have probably mentioned itself, like maybe we're missing Brent Urban a little bit more than we thought we would in that interior. Like, it's just we're missing something defensively, and I think, if Trayvon Diggs isn't, playing outstanding, and, everyone but Micah Parsons looks lost out there, and Jaron Kearse is, messing up some of his assignment-based football, like, we look like a beatable team in those instances, and it's a scary proposition. But I like to learn my lessons in wins. Like, I would like to think that you could take something from that game and still get a W. And so I don't subscribe to we need to lose to get this feeling. So, like, hey, we could have, squeaked one out and had the same lesson learned.
Along those lines, people love to talk about like the Tampa loss and say, well, that's a moral victory. You can have a moral loss. You know what I mean? Like you can get the win, but still get the moral of the story is kind of your point, Tony. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Donnie King, very confident here, says, I ain't worried about anything. Dak had Russ. Wide receivers drop passes. Offense didn't sustain drives, leading to a more tired defense. Aidan, I want to come to you next because you did some fantastic work for us, as you always do, and we were riding high. Cowboys were going to have, or average, 2 turnovers per game the rest of the way. That was on fire up until last week in Minnesota. But they won, even though they didn't get any single turnovers. So who cares whether the prediction worked itself out? No turnovers here. Totally a disaster. Not great. So that does kind of aid and support the idea that this defense, this opportunistic defense, without those swing moments is just average and is going to be something that isn't going to help the offense at all.
Yeah, so going into the bye week, that's a lot of the topic that people talked about was the Cowboys are on an insane pace for turnovers. The turnovers aren't going to keep coming. And so then after the bye week, what happens to this defense? Now, 2 weeks after the bye week, 2 straight games, no turnovers. One game looked amazing defensively. The other obviously looked horrible. I mean,
not amazing would have been fine.
Yeah, any synonym you want to use. Yeah. But I'm less concerned about how the defense looked as, like, in my opinion, I think the run defense as well as the defense in coverage, I think they're going to be fine. The one aspect of the defense that I am now concerned about is tackling. I think we haven't been a great tackling team all year, and it hasn't really been exposed. But right now, according to Pro Football Focus, we're the 6th worst tackling team. And I think Javonte Williams, who is an amazing back at breaking tackles, just exposed it. And so that's the one aspect of the defense that I'm now worried about is, are you able to finish the play? Are you able to bring the ball carrier to the ground? When there were a handful of times we had Javonte or Melvin Gordon in the backfield, and then they proceed to rip off a 10-yard run. And so stuff like that isn't going to fly come January, come the next few games. And so that's the one aspect that I am a little concerned about for right now.
Tom, along these lines, I saw a tweet from Connor Livesey, obviously of bloggingtheboys.com. Everybody can hear him on the podcast network on Talking the Star. And by the way, an opportunity now for me to let all of our podcast listeners know and the YouTube audience that there's a bit of a schedule adjustment this week here on the podcast network. Talking the Star will drop on Thursday. The Ochoa with myself will drop tomorrow on Wednesday because we had a very special guest join us, Dallas Cowboys legend DeMarcus Ware. So you can look forward to that interview dropping on the Blogging the Boys podcast network and YouTube channel on Wednesday. We will, of course, give you an article about that up at bloggingtheboys.com as well. Be on the lookout for that. But slight little adjustment. D-Ware doing some great work in association with Veterans Day and USAA. So we wanted to get that out as soon as possible. But Tom, back to Connor's point that I saw. Again, it's kind of a not superficial point. I don't want to say that of Connor, but he said kind of from his viewpoint that Cowboys were a little bit too focused on trying to rip that ball away, trying to go for that turnover instead of just bring your man down. And, that Connor estimated, again, the tweet I saw, Samuel Rowe, by the way, chimes in here, says the tackling was horrid, that the Cowboys might have given up 80 to 100 extra yards trying to pull off that Herculean thing. Do you think that that's part of what this was, Tom? The Cowboys just trying to do too much instead of just trying to make the simple tackle?
Yeah, the thing about doing too much, it was like somebody else said that at one point Dak was trying to score 21 points every time he threw the ball. I think there was a lot of people that were pressing too hard after they fell behind by a couple of scores. And then I want to give a little shout out to Burmy Starr, who observed about the fact that by the end of the third quarter, Denver had held the ball for 32 of the 45 minutes. That defense was on the field a long time. And that, to me, goes back to the thing that I think I'm worried about going forward, and that is, can they fix the issue with the offensive line with Tyron Smith being out? Because I'm doubtful Tyron's going to be back this week. I don't know that the solution is to flip Collins and Steele, because I have no idea how Collins would do out there in left tackle after not having done it since college. They said he's never practiced at that position with the Cowboys, but they've got to come up with a solution. And it seemed to me that they were leaving Steele on an island too many times when the pass rush of the Broncos was just getting to Dak and putting him under pressure. So that, to me, is, I think the defense, was trying desperately to get the ball back a lot and focusing on the wrong thing, as Connor observed. It just, like I said, if you want to look at the list of what went wrong,
it's long.
You get to like the third page of the notebook and you're still writing down new stuff. I'm concerned about what's going on with the offensive line, because they can't afford to let Dak be under that kind of pressure. He only took 2 sacks, but he was ducking and dodging back there a lot.
Okay, we have some other things to get to, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna try to get this post-mortem over with sooner rather than later. Tony, a comment as I understand for you, comes to us from Rachel Adams. Tony, Catalina is so handsome, with a heart eyes emoji, and smart.
I respectfully disagree, but I mean,
she has to say that. That's my fiance.
I mean, Rachel, very sweet of Rachel. Rachel, congratulations. You are today's live stream MVP. Tony is not, though, so you are the true winner in your household. Sturch, I want to come over to you to talk about something that has developed today. We'll get into kind of spinning forward in a moment, but on Tuesday, Sturch, Greg Zuerlein, Dallas Cowboys kicker, was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list. Obviously, this is a factor in all of life. It is our new normal in many senses, and we're not going to get into the political ideologies associated here. We'll leave that to the Green Bay Packers. But, Sturch, it was basically confirmed by members of the local media that Zuerlein will not play, or it's really inferred that he's not going to play. It's not confirmed. I want to be very clear here. It seems to me like the Cowboys are planning on operating without him. In fact, the Cowboys are going to hold some workouts on Wednesday, which, we don't know Greg Zuerlein's vaccination status. If he is vaccinated, he has to test negative twice, 24 hours apart. But if he is not, He is out 10 days at minimum, a lesson we all learned a lot more clearly last week, again, in the aftermath of the Aaron Rodgers situation. But Sturch, while Tony is the Chicken Little here, maybe you are a Chicken Little senior, because the Cowboys are going to, on Wednesday, reportedly work out Lareem Harulahu, always a difficult name to pronounce, and Brett Maher is going to work out for the Cowboys on Wednesday. Sturch, is this the floor bottoming out on all the good vibes here? I mean, I think it would be understandable as somebody's phone rings. I don't know who. Maybe that's Brett calling in all pissed off. But if this was the previous coaching staff, Sturch, nobody would understand it, but at least there would be that dot connect, right? Like, hey, you've worked with this guy before. This is John Fossil. We've been told Bones has got this under control. Bones understands. Bones is the special teams god. Do not question Bones. That being said, Sturch, your panic level 1 to 10 that the Cowboys are even considering bringing in Brett Maher to kick for them.
I think just based off of familiarity, like that's why they do it. I know Cowboys Nation out there are probably going to pull their hair out if that's confirmed, and that's the guy they go with. I would love to give Liram a chance because he was the one that replaced Zerline when he was dealing with the back stuff, and so there is some, there's confidence there. Where's Kai Forbath? Where's where are those guys? The guys that we can rely on a little bit. I made a funny. I was making a joke, but what's Dan Bailey up to? You know what I mean? Like, why can't we get guys that we don't
Jeff
hate?
He's the free agent. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
I said that too. I said, you know what? The Dallas Cowboys are going to wind up going for 2 every time they score a touchdown. And somebody, I think it was Cowboys Nation on Twitter, said, well, what are we going to do about kickoffs? I was like, well, what's Jeff Heath up to? You know what I mean? Like, well, we can do that and like bring another safety in. I think that the panic level for Cowboys fans everywhere should definitely heighten if they think Brett Maher is the guy. I just think there's just a little bit of a pass there where that's the only reason why they're doing their due diligence. But I know for a fact, listen, they cut Brett Maher. They cut him dead. Like, he was done. So I think this is just like, hey, there's some competition here. And that's just going to escalate and improve the kicking by Liram. I think he's the one. Don't even ask me to pronounce his last name. I'm not going to do it. So I think that he's just going to be the only reason why Brett is there. He's going to say like, hey, I can kick a 60-yarder. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Cool story, bro. But it's not going to be the case. I think Liram gets the job and gets the nod. If for whatever reason, Brett Maher is signed by the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow or Thursday or whatever.
Are you a 10 out of 10? Are you willing to say that now? You would be a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, if that's the case, I'm a 10 out of 10. That's not even fair to Cowboys fans off this loss. That's the biggest thing. We're already kind of reeling. We're already kind of like, I don't like the feeling of losing. We haven't lost since week 1. But now if you sign Brett Maher in this same week that we just lost, people are going to be they're going to stir. They're going to stir.
Tony, I don't know if you've seen this tweet. This is from ESPN's Todd Archer 7 minutes ago, who says that while Brian Anger, the Cowboys punter, would be the in-game emergency kicker, special teams coach John Fossil mentioned Azur Kamara and Tyler Biadasz as emergency possibilities. So Azur Kamara, Tyler Biadasz, or Brett Maher. Rank those options for me, Tony Catalina.
Azul Kamara.
All I can see is his mother in the stands, like he's lining up for the game-winning field goal. He's like, Azul, and then just kick. Oh my god!
He'd probably kick it straighter.
Probably.
I mean, for me, it's, in all seriousness, it's closer than it should be.
I think I would love to see Tyler Biadasz attempt a field goal. That'd be sick. But okay, whatever. Let's move off of this. We'll see what the Cowboys ultimately end up doing. We'll keep you obviously posted at bloggingtheboys.com, on social, on the podcast network and whatnot. Aidan, it's your time to shine. Something that we worked on this week. I say I did nothing. That you worked on this week. You took a look at how Mike McCarthy-led teams have responded to double-digit losses, which again is what happened here, an embarrassing defeat by the Dallas Cowboys. You chose, and correct me if I put the improper words in your mouth, to exclude the 2006 and 2020 seasons from this sample, because 2006, first season as a head coach, still kind of getting your bearings. 2020, I think we can all understand why you chose to exclude that from Mike McCarthy. Are we still, is everything kosher to this point?
Yeah, I think it's just we excluded those 2 seasons because when you hire a head coach, there's a reason you're hiring a head coach. It's a rebuilding year. Most likely the team isn't amazing. So it's a little unfair to take those seasons as representative of his entire career.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at 2007 through 2018. Mike McCarthy, notably not in the NFL in 2019, instead at the PFF offices in Cincinnati, Ohio. But so, Aidan, you've got this graphic available for us, how Mike McCarthy responds after a double-digit losses. For the video audience, if you're listening to the podcast here, we highly encourage you to check out bloggingtheboys.com or check out the video so you can see this and see Professor Davis explain it all to you. But Aidan, what are we looking at here? Why should we be encouraged? Why should we not be panicking at this point in time?
I think we should be encouraged for this week because what we've seen is over Mike McCarthy's career, when he loses by double digits, he has a 62% winning percentage in the next game. And I mean, 62, no, it's not 100, but
well, what a loser if it's not 100, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, 62%, you'll take it. The key to this is that, number one, when Mike McCarthy loses by double digits, 31% of the time, he comes out and beats the other team by 14 points or more, meaning that when McCarthy gets embarrassed, he's then ready to dole it out to the next team he plays. And 31% of the time is by far the biggest category when we're looking at a 14-point loss, a 7 to 13-point loss, 1 to 6-point loss, 1 to 6-point win, 7 to 13-point win. That's the biggest category. And so if you're betting, it's most likely McCarthy's going to come out ready to play. But what's even more encouraging is Mike McCarthy's career point differential is plus 5 points. When he loses by double digits, in those next games, his point differential is 4.5 points. Now, obviously, that's not as good as his career point differential, but what you're seeing is when McCarthy gets blown out, he then just regresses to the mean. He gets the team back performing how they should be performing. And I think if you ask any Cowboys fans, that's what we're looking for. We're like, just show us the Cowboys from week 1 to week 8, and we'll be completely happy after the Atlanta Falcons game. And so there's reason to be encouraged for this upcoming Sunday.
So, Tom, you heard all that. You're seeing the data. You're looking at the graph. How are you feeling? Do you feel the butterflies, whirling and swirling inside of you? Or are you're not ready to, to love again after last week hurt you? How do you feel, Tom Ryle?
I tend to side with Aidan. I think that the team is going to come out really motivated and hopefully focused. Obviously the coaching staff has a lot of things to get them to turn around, but I feel good about this. If fortunately they're not facing the Arizona Cardinals or the Las Vegas Raiders this week. So, I think there's going to be a lot of motivation there. And even though Dan Quinn says that it's not really a factor, I'm sure he wants to show up against his former team that fired him as the head coach. So, I do believe that the results from Sunday were just, one of those things. The Cowboys, even in their championship years, got embarrassed at least once during the season. And hopefully that is the once, and we're going to move on. We'll have a lot better idea about that a week from now. But, we've got a lot to find out about this. But, of course I'm going to have butterflies, because they need to get back on track. But I feel pretty good, based on Aidan's data and just kind of my read of the team and what it is. They had it together for 7 games. And I don't think that just magically disappeared. It got suspended for some reason. So I think that's going to come back. Whatever they were finding to win those games beforehand, I think we're going to see them get going and hopefully get another little win streak started.
Great point. You said once several times. Once is a great Broadway show. Not sure if you've ever seen that, Tom. You're a pretty cultured man, so I could totally understand if you had. Tony, again, our resident panic attack. This is everything we're saying will be validated if the Cowboys come out and just dominate the Atlanta Falcons, right? We'll all say, well, see, it was that thing they needed. It was that slice of humble pie. It was them eating the cheese, like Sturch said. But Tony, I put it to you, how will we feel if the Cowboys don't blow out the Falcons? Maybe not even blow out, but win with authority. I mean, because if the Cowboys come out, Tony, and they win kind of the way, let's say the Chiefs beat the Packers this past week, the Jordan Love-led Packers, I don't think the panic's going anywhere. I think people will still be riled up, no pun intended to Tom here, and people will be, really upset with the way things are. People, Tony, to calm these waters, to put out these fires, want to see an authoritative sort of win from the Cowboys. Do you agree or not?
It's the easy answer to say, yeah, go out there and just take out the frustration out on Atlanta. Go out there and just blow them out.
This one's for Dan Quinn, Tony. Get some more energy here. Jeez, come on.
To me, the way I look at it is like, to win in the NFL is hard, man. I just want to win. I don't care if it's 3. I don't care if it's 33. But yeah, to have that type of game and to see this team respond in a type of manner that is like, all right, they're done with this BS. They're gonna go out there and curb stomp these, Falcons. Like, I think we'd all love to see that. I would love to be able to sit down in the third quarter. I don't watch football games sitting down. So like, I would love to be able to relax for a minute.
Are you just standing? Or are you like playing shortstop, like hands on your knees? Like, what's the situation here?
You would think I'm in the backfield with Zeke himself. Like, that's how I'm watching these games. So like, I'm calling out protections. I'm seeing the blitzes coming, but yeah, I would love to be able to sit down, relax, and just enjoy some food. Cause I also don't eat during the games, but, yeah, wow. I mean, I think we would all love to see that.
How do you even like the Cowboys, Tony? I mean, what a miserable experience this must be.
It really is unenjoyable. I'm just trying to win a Super Bowl, man. But at the end of the day, yeah, we'd love to see that, and I don't think there should be cause for panic. But a win's a win, and like I said, it's hard to win in the NFL, and that's all I'm looking for at the end of the day.
Okay. Sturch, let's segue subjects yet again here. There are, the trade deadline has come and gone, and a lot of people wanted the Cowboys to do this, do that. And the common response was, why? They got a lot of players coming back. There's a lot of dudes still coming to help this team. Who is the player that you are most excited to see? I'm going to get answers from Sturch, Tom, and Tony, and then Aiden's going to tell you the correct ones. I just want to hear a name, Sturch, nothing else.
Just based off of last week in particular, like, yeah, we want to get more of a pass rush, and obviously Parsons can do whatever he can do from the outside, from the middle, whatever. And Gregory's been all world, but I'm excited to get Gallimore and Tristan Hill back, man. I want that defensive. I want those big hosses in the middle.
There's the homer caping for Tristan Hill right there.
I mean, look, I just want something else. I mean, we lost Brett Urban, you know what I mean? So like, this is the kind of stuff that we felt that right away. I think, I mean, Urban on the sidelines alone was like one of those more like rowdy, get everybody excited guys. You know what I mean? So to get Gallimore back, to get Tristan Hill back, those like defensive tackles and interior pressure, like the popular. I mean, I'm not going to take everybody else's answers or whatever and start.
Don't even say them yet. You're casting a wide net. You're cheating. Wow. Tom, you cannot use Sturch's answers. The question was actually for one player, but Sturch already broke the rules. So Tom, who is your answer player you're most excited to see back on this team?
Well, since I did cheat and look at the notes, I'm not going to use the correct answer. I'm going to go with Michael Gallup.
That's what Sheila Neal says, by the way, Tom. So you got some support here in the chat.
Yeah, I think he might have been a big help just this last weekend. But they've done very well up until they lost to the Broncos with Cedric Wilson filling in. But Gallup is such a great deep threat, and he has the ability to catch some balls that a lot of people wouldn't. And I just would like to see him get back and give Dak his expected arsenal out there on the field. Especially since Amari Cooper is still kind of nursing a bit of a hamstring issue. Is massaging it with tennis balls between plays and stuff. So I think Gallup would be really exciting to have and get this offense fired up again.
A good answer, Tom. By the way, we don't talk a lot of fantasy here. That's a league winner. Go add Michael Gallup to your fantasy roster because somebody dropped him after week 1 when the calf strain happened. Go add him. If you got the depth, he'll come back. That's a league winning move. Trust me. Tony, you can't take I don't know why you would take Tristan Hill, all due respect to Tristan. You can't take Neville Gallimore. You can't take Michael Gallup. Who are you excited to see the Cowboys get back?
The low-hanging fruit to me is DeMarcus Lawrence.
All right, we got a winner.
Yeah, I try to get cute. I try to just be like, hey, who would they not select? So let me go this way. And of course it's D-Log. Go get him, Tony.
That was the answer all along.
So that you don't kill our segment, Tony. Aidan, why are we excited to get DeMarcus Lawrence back here?
The main thing is the run defense. I mean, we all know how impactful DeMarcus Lawrence is in the pass rush. Granted, yeah, his sack numbers are down, but he's averaging 3.5 quarterback pressures a game. You're going to notice when a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence leaves the field. But the main thing is, and the most underappreciated aspect of DeMarcus Lawrence's game is his work in the run defense. I mean, currently DeMarcus Lawrence he's averaging an average depth of tackle of 1.5 yards past the line of scrimmage. So when he's getting his hands on the guy, it's a 1 yard run, and he stops the run on 11% of his plays on the field, where everybody else on the Dallas team is averaging 6%. I mean, if you want a resurgence to the run defense, it's DeMarcus Lawrence, and he's going to come in and make an immediate impact in every aspect of the game. Quarterbacks have to get the ball out quicker. Opposing offenses aren't going to be able to run like they did on Sunday. He's going to completely change this team.
So, Aidan, you are on Twitter at Aidan1214. I don't know if you've ever checked Twitter, Aidan, but DeMarcus Lawrence sucks. He doesn't get sacks, all right? He's trash. Why? I mean, I heard all this. You know what I mean? Who cares? Your numbers and your precious run defense. But the Cowboys paid him, Aidan. Where are the sacks? I mean, where are the contributions here? Why should I be excited? I am arbitrary Cowboys fan, not myself. Just be very.
I know. Alton Smith got all those sacks, so let's just give him the money that DeMarcus Lawrence is making. But no, I mean, yes, he might not get the sacks that he did a few years ago, but you're talking about a guy that since he came into this career has over 300 quarterback pressures. The rest of the team's at like 1,000. So he's single-handedly making up about a little bit less than a third of your total quarterback pressures since these came on the team. I mean, yes, the sack numbers aren't as great as what they used to be, but that's a lot of it is because defenses are keying on him. And yeah, don't pay attention to sack numbers in general as the sole means to evaluate an edge rusher. There are a lot of other good metrics that measure the impact.
Donnie King says in our chat, Tank is a complete defensive end, plays the run and rushes the passer. That's what those Tank naysayers don't understand. Agreed. Danny Phantom, who you can also hear on the Blog of the Boys podcast network and check out at blogoftheboys.com, has also chimed in on the stream. And yes, Tom, he says Tom Ryle is handsome and mostly smart. You take offense at the mostly.
That is very kind and vaguely disturbing. So I appreciate that.
Is Danny Phantom's like default picture? Is that Michael Bolton?
I believe it is Skip Bayless. But
same thing.
Hey, it is what it is. On the subject of Michaels, I don't know if anybody here agrees, but I had this realization the other day. I think that Joe Judge looks like Michael Buble. Does anybody agree with that?
I don't know.
A lot of credit to Joe Judge.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly kind to Joe Judge. Michael Buble is a handsome man, but I mean, kind of looks like him, kind of has a similar looking face. Who knows? Maybe he can sing. But okay, I specifically, Tom, you way to pull back the curtain and tell everybody about the secret notes. But I specifically left this question out because I wanted to surprise all of you. You are all going to have to answer it. Nobody can have the same answer as anybody else. And because Tom cheated, he has to go last. So, Sturch, I start with you. Same question for everybody. What is one Cowboys opinion you have that will upset everyone else?
One Cowboys opinion that will upset everyone else.
Yeah, your hottest take without being hot takey. Something you really believe, something you have conviction in, Sturch, that, is unpopular.
With everyone, like everyone else is in Cowboys Nation, or like everybody else?
I mean, I'm not talking about the universe at whole or anything, the multiverse or anything like that. But I mean, like a lot of people. If you walk into an average bar full of Cowboys fans, you say this out loud, you're getting something thrown at you.
Dak, I would rather have Dak Prescott than any other quarterback in the NFL to win me a Super Bowl.
That is not controversial at all among Cowboys fans, Sturch.
Well, you just said. I mean,
I think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. Come on, Sturch. You got to stoke some flames here.
I mean that oh my God, I'm never ever never for a loss for words, but like every opinion I have usually people agree with. So,
wow, I mean, man of the people. Tony,
yeah,
you seem ready. We'll come back to Sturch. We'll come back. Tony, you seem like you got one.
All right. Terrence Steele wasn't even the second or third biggest issue on Sunday.
Ooh,
as far as I'm concerned.
Now that's what we're looking for here.
You know, Terrence Steele is, everyone's like, well, Collins at halftime, you have to make the switch. And everybody knows that switch was not coming. That switch was nowhere to be home. That nobody, if you can knock in there, nobody's answering that door. But there was a lot more issues, and there's other ways to help Terrence Steele. So if he has to go again this week, it could be not game wrecking if have him be there. Now, it's not something I want to keep forever. It's not something I want to keep beyond more than I have to, but there were other issues that may have been bigger than Terrence Steele there.
Okay, so we have to marry you to an idea here. Sorry, Rachel. But the idea here is Terrence Steele should start.
Start what?
Start a fight.
In general. Start in general.
Like, he has to start.
You're riding the fence here, Tony. I need you to commit one way or the other.
If Tyron Smith can't go, he has to start. If Tyron Smith can go, he can sit down. That's the. I mean, he's our swing tackle. I'm not playing Ty Nsekhe. You know what I mean? So Ty Nsekhe is not going to do better than he will. And moving Lyle Collins, I thought they weren't into moving two people for one move. So, you know, keep Lyle Collins at right tackle. You know, make Connor McGovern the world's biggest fullback, you know, helping Chip or whatever. Zeke will be over there, you know. So whatever you got to do, he doesn't have to be game wrecking. And I know it's the Atlanta Falcons, so we don't have to revisit all that. But he wasn't the biggest issue. And yes, if Tyron Smith can go and he can find a way to make it work, I would take a 80% Tyron Smith over 110% Terrence Steele. So.
All right, 1 to 10. This was a 2 of an answer. Aidan, come on, save us here. You know, I know you've got something.
Aidan knows numbers and stuff. Like, come on, like this isn't fair. Like, come on.
I'll give 2 because I'm not sure how controversial each of these are. I'd say number 1, I think this is a Pro Bowl-ish season from Leighton Vander Esch.
Okay. All right. But
maybe not. I don't think.
Are you factoring in the like cowboyness to being a Pro Bowler? Or are you saying like he's worthy of that?
That's the thing. I don't. If I were to fill out a Pro Bowl ballot, I wouldn't put him on there. But I think he is playing on par with some of those linebackers. That's all. I think he is, from what we've seen from last year, drastically improved, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for it. Now, maybe that, and my other opinion, I'll then go negative. The offensive line without Tyron Smith, I think, is bottom 8 to bottom 5 in the NFL.
Wow. Tom, which one of those do you want to address?
What do you mean address? I don't have to rebut. I can't come up with my own.
No, you'll have to come up with your own in a minute. But like, I mean, you're in response to actually to buy you some time, Tom. Aidan, I think you've tapped into an interesting category. I think there is, because the Pro Bowl is finicky. There's a category of Cowboys that if you're on a good Cowboys team, you can make the Pro Bowl if you're a certain level of household name and play to a certain degree. Leighton Vander Esch fits that qualification. Greg Zuerlein fits that qualification if he's in. He's a household name. He's on a really successful team. It happens to be the Cowboys. Connor Williams kind of fits that qualification. Keanu Neal, like you're talking the big names that are on a really successful Dallas Cowboys team, I think could be Pro Bowlers because the Pro Bowl can be kind of wonky like that.
Here's a clarification I'll give. In 2018, Leighton Vander Esch made the Pro Bowl. I don't think he's drastically worse than that. I think he's similar / on par to that 2018 season. So maybe he didn't deserve to make it in 2018, but he's playing at that same level this year.
Okay. All right. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on the Cowboys offensive line being bottom 25% of the NFL without Tyron Smith?
I can see there's an argument to be made there, unless they can get things on track in a hurry. I hope they're going to come back and at least get above the median, but their performance on Sunday was kind of bottom 8 for that day. I think Aidan's got a good point there.
Okay, Sturch, are you more prepared for this?
I mean, not really. It's so weird because I'm sitting here. I'm like, I agree with Aidan as far as the offensive line is concerned. Tyron Smith, to me, to that offensive line is kind of how we operated with Sean Lee on the defense. When Sean Lee was out, we couldn't do anything right. It was like a trickle down effect. When Tyron Smith is out, the offense doesn't go. You know what I mean? And it will go. We'll have our splash plays. Things will like kind of work out. But like when Tyron Smith is out, for whatever reason, it's just like it just doesn't look like the same team. And it's the same thing every time. Sean Lee, you know, our buddy Scooter Magruder, every time he started a video, he said, "Is Sean Lee playing?" Because that was the big thing. If Sean Lee wasn't playing, the general wasn't out there. Tyron Smith is out there. Look, yes, he plays left tackle. It's one position. He's protecting the blind side. He's, run block and pass block. But it just, there's something more to this guy. You know what I mean? There's something more to Tyron Smith than what meets the eye and what position he plays on the depth chart. When he's not in there, this team, it has a different definition. And that's Tyron Smith calling right now. He agrees. He agrees wholeheartedly.
Okay. All right. Tom, you've gone on mute. I know you're addressing that. I will go. All right. I will go. Show you guys how this is done. And this is a hill I've been planted on. I own property here. I've got equity in it and everything. Mike McCarthy is a top 5 head coach. That is a super controversial opinion amongst Cowboys fans. He is. And like I said this on the NFC's mixtape, which will be out on Wednesday on the podcast network as well. I hate that the Cowboys lost to the Broncos because it feeds Vic Fangio's narrative about the way football should be played. It justifies it in his mind when it's wrong and improper. And, the Broncos, Tim Patrick comes out and acts offended that the Cowboys went for these logical 4th down attempts. And so I'm bothered that logic and reason are being disproven in the minds of some people because of the results that happen here as far as the win and loss is concerned. I loved Mike McCarthy's approach to this game. Had a huge problem. I know you didn't, Tony, with McCarthy leaving Dak and co in the game at the very end. If you're going to be the coaching staff that's going to play for the long game the week before Minnesota, you cannot leave him out there. That is a contradicting sort of philosophy in my mind. So that's my one problem with him. But I mean, name 5, anybody who wants to name 5 head coaches who are currently better than Mike McCarthy or coaching better than Mike McCarthy. I will welcome any challengers here.
Well, you got to go to the records. That's all. That's literally
that's not all about records. I mean, those are
the guys. Those are the guys that are going to be in the conversation. Like they're going to say like, "Oh, Sean McVay," and
I think he's a better coach than Sean McVay. I do. I think, and Aidan, I'm curious if you agree. I think Sean McVay is a coward. I really do. I think Sean McVay is a huge coward on 4th down. That short 4th down near the end of the game against Tennessee, kicks a field goal and just turtles up. And then late in the game, once it's like the game's out of hand, it's like, yeah, we'll go for this 4th and long. And if we don't get it, hey, we tried. Sean McVay does not have the guts, Aidan, and I'm curious how you feel here, that Mike McCarthy seemingly does.
I'm with you in that. I do think
a
lot of people tout Sean McVay as this mastermind. He's the genius in football. I don't think he's exactly the new genius in football, but I do hesitate to say that Sean McVay is worse than Mike McCarthy.
I don't think Sean McVay sucks, to be clear. I do think he's a coward, but I like the perception of the gap between them is, at least I'm willing to, the lowest I'm willing to come is far, far much more narrow than people make it out to be.
That's fair.
Respect.
I'd still put Sean McVay. I don't think I'd really argue it, but hey, I gave a controversial opinion as well. So,
does anybody have any contention with the fact that Mike McCarthy is a top 5 head coach in the NFL at the moment?
Again, I go by the record. The Cowboys are 6-2. You got to give some credit to the head coach. I mean, you have to. So therefore, if you look at the upper echelon of the NFL, the teams of 1 loss and 2 losses, they're well coached. And so with a 6-2 record after 8 games, yeah, McCarthy's doing good. Just don't give him timeouts because he doesn't know what to do with those.
So this is a bad narrative, Sturge, but we'll save it for a different day. So okay, Tom. I'm anxious to hear your controversial opinion.
I'm like Aidan. I got a couple, but
okay, all right. Aidan and Tom K to play, unlike Tony and Sturge. Just checking out.
The first one is Trayvon Diggs is a lot more lucky than he is good.
This is fair and controversial. Tom's looking to be the winner
because. Turnover. There is an element of luck in turnovers. I mean, he had a couple of them that were just rebounds that happened to come to him, and everybody's focused on the fact he's leading the league in interceptions, and that's great. He was terrible on Sunday. He had at least 2 penalties that I can recall to mind.
He got beat for the big touchdown by the aforementioned Tim Patrick.
And that's happened. His interceptions have been covering up the fact that his coverage gets really bad sometimes. So, he needs to concentrate on getting his fundamentals right, not grabbing people and getting into the right position and making, the plays on the ball better than just going for the interception because, when the interceptions dry up, all of a sudden, he seems to be a little bit of a liability out there.
Okay, Tom, I want to pause. Aidan, do you agree? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's hear why. I like this. I like this
7
consternation.
interceptions isn't luck.
Too
Tom.
much harmony happening around here. Let's go, Aidan.
I agree. He's not a lockdown corner, and I think that. I mean, this may upset people. I don't think he was ever going to win Defensive Player of the Year just because games like this were going to happen. He's not. This is gonna hurt him more than it would the other contenders because the fall was going to be that much greater. And it's more difficult for defensive backs to win Defensive Player of the Year. But I think that he intentionally plays a little off. He's going to give the receivers a little bit of space, bait the pass, and then he's going to ball hawk it, which he's very good at. Now, oftentimes that he doesn't get there. It winds up in a reception. Yes, he's not a shutdown corner, but the value of those interceptions, and which he's good at baiting the quarterback into, they're invaluable. So I don't think it's luck that he had 7 picks. I think that's the way he plays.
The only one I would ascribe to luck is the Leonard Fournette tip in week 1. That one I'm willing to give you as I get your point, Tom. I think your point is he's not Darrelle Revis, and that's how a lot of people were treating him, to be fair. Sturch, you were the most offended at Tom's offering here. Do you want to stand for Trayvon Diggs?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's call it how it is. Obviously, 7 interceptions is great, and everybody's saying, everybody knows that's great. And I don't feel like 7 interceptions is luck at all. Just keep in mind, the guy's a receiver at heart. You know what I mean? He's a receiver. So he's going to go after the ball. That's what he was trained to do his entire life, right? And let's not forget, this guy's not healthy. He's not 100% right now.
Yeah, so, but nobody's 100%.
But no, he literally came out of a game and people were starting to question if is he all right. Like it's one thing for Knicks and getting banged up this far into the season, but look, yes, he's not shut down, and yes, we all had memes and stuff of saying oh, it's Diggs Island, and you know what I mean. Like, it's not that. Aiden's right with that. He's not a shutdown corner yet, but I find it hard pressed for when a quarterback lines up and he's looking at that defense, he knows exactly where Trayvon Diggs is on the field. You can't say that about a lot of other corners. Majority of the corners in the NFL. You have to account for the fact that if that ball is underthrown, overthrown, thrown to the left, to the right, a fraction of an inch, Trayvon Diggs is the kind of guy that's going to make you pay for it. So the fact that you're saying that he's better lucky than good, I don't buy that, and he doesn't buy that either, because we all saw his clown emoji. Okay, we know this. He's saying, you know what? All you people that are starting to talk, You're all clowns. He's going to get a pick this week.
I don't think Tom is going as far as we're making the point out to be very clear, to be fair to Tom. I get the overall point here. I think some people thought Trayvon was more of an assassin when he might actually be a mercenary. You know, there's a difference. You know what I mean? Like he has a very specific trait that is extremely valuable, as Aidan put it. Tom, well done, instigating controversy here. What else do you have for us?
Everybody needs to quit picking on Tyler Biotish, the rock of the Cowboys pass protection. I mean, how many games?
An emergency kicker. How could you?
Yeah,
bury the lead.
Everybody talks about how they need to get a new center and all this, but how many games this year has he had zero pressure surrendered in pass protection? He did it again. He was the only offensive lineman that didn't give up a pressure against the Broncos. And that has happened more than once this year. And everybody's acting like he's some huge problem. No, he's still a young center. He's growing into it, and he's doing something very right when the Cowboys are trying to throw the ball.
Okay, Tony, you kind of, for the podcast audience, I'll let them know, kind of look like you scoffed. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into this here. Are you not a Biotish fan? I don't know if you've heard, Tony, people call him Tyler Badass. So, you know, like, do you not feel the same here?
No, it's not that I don't agree. I actually think that. No, I'm actually on Tom's side with this. Early on, you could look at the way he played and just like he got bullied in the Tampa Bay game a little bit. You know what I mean? And I think
difficult challenge, right?
I mean, yeah, exactly. And I think he's kind of come down to the mean. It's how I feel about, you know, how people spoke about Anthony Brown, right? You looked at Tampa Bay, oh my God, he's going to be the worst and he can't stop us anything. And it's just like, all right, the water found its level. He kind of leveled out. I think he's been steady. Do I think he's Travis Frederick? He's not. Do I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl center? I don't. But the NFL is, you know, go over all offensive lines 1 through 5. I don't think that everybody on the team is an offensive lineman is a Pro Bowl caliber player. Do I think he can be an above average center? Do I think he's playing around the above average, slightly above average center? Yeah, and I think that's fine. I mean, I don't know if he's the rock like Tom said, but he's, you know, I'm not as down on Tyler Biotish as I honestly was early on. I watched some, you know, everybody watches back the film and you kind of see and you analyze and it's like, you know, I think week 2 or 3, I'm like, when are they making this move? You know, is Connor McGovern the guy? Is, you know, who is? But I think he's settled down. I think he's calmed down, and I think he's been steady, if nothing else.
Tom, do you have another? If not, I have one last question to incite things from all of you on.
No, those were my 2 best ones.
Okay. Okay.
Best.
Nobody can take anybody else's answer, which is the common rule here. And again, this is done to slightly be, incite controversy. Tom, who was the worst? We'll call it the least best starter on the Dallas Cowboys. We're playing offense and defense here, so no picking on, Brian.
I hate to say this. This wounds me. But for the first 3 quarters, it was Dak Prescott. He was just not right.
So I agree with your point, but I'm talking like throughout to this point in the season. So we're talking So we're talking like
hold on.
We're talking kind of if we're establishing an Achilles heel, so to speak.
I thought we were doing a 1-game thing there.
Yeah, no. On Sunday, we're all in agreement. Nobody, and I think you could go like, I don't care about the garbage time touchdowns. Give it to Dak for the whole game. So we're talking to this point in the season. Who is the Achilles heel? And the question was inspired by our handsome man, Tony Catalina, because Tony mentioned, obviously you mentioned Tyler Biotish, and Tony mentioned Anthony Brown. And I think after week 1, everybody would have said the 2 of them are tied for the win here. So who is the Achilles heel? Maybe we'll put it that way, of the Cowboys team as a whole from their 22 starters.
Good.
Oh, man.
I know.
God,
thought-provoking question. Not my first time.
It's really hard to try to pick that one player.
You got 22 to choose from.
Yeah, but
And again, the rule here is nobody can take somebody that has already been said. So, Tom, you have the easiest challenge.
Yeah, you
here.
have the easiest one there, Tom.
I guess I'm just going to have to because you're talking not 22 starters. You're talking how many players have started for the Cowboys.
We're talking people who we effectively know to be the starters of the team. We're not counting anybody who has started a game, like the consensus sort of starters to this point in the season.
God, like I said, is it who?
Quit stalling, Tom. Give us an answer.
It's hard.
Jeez.
Okay, Jordan Lewis.
Does anybody agree? By the way, did Tom take anybody's answer?
No.
Oh, he took Aidan's. Okay, Aidan, you have any thoughts? Are you upset with Tom?
Yeah, now I just have to think of another one. I thought that would have been kind of easy. That was Jordan Lewis, but maybe I'm. Now I have
low-hanging fruit. A different context here, and nobody can take this because DJ Dog just said Tyron Smith is the Achilles heel, and that's a really that's a deep thought. I mean, Tyron is not that person, but he is that person because of his health. It's a situation he can't control, obviously, but that is arguably the true Achilles heel. But for the purposes of this game and making you guys squirm, we're not necessarily allowing that. Aidan, your answer is just taken. So Tony, you're next.
I would have to say, I guess his starter, a contributor, Keanu Neal. I think he's.
Do we count that? Does anybody have a problem with this? Do we want to, make Tony pick again?
No.
Okay, you're safe, Tony. Go ahead.
I think at one point in time, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people had a perfect passer rating, completion percentage against him at one point in time. Like, he was brought in there to, I know he's not great in coverage, but coming down to being a linebacker, he's supposed to be that guy that, can, match up with a tight end and be in our favor in that instance. And, him missing games due to COVID affected his time. So I just think the Keanu Neal, the excitement that we had, or the possibility of him being a Dan Quinn guy being brought in the offseason hasn't really came to fruition at all for us. I mean, he had a good stop last week, but that was the first time I think all year I was like, oh, Keanu Neal popped. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like Jordan Lewis was taken. So I was stuck with Keanu Neal.
Okay. Aidan, I know that you had an answer taken, but Sturch ruined the last question, so he has to go last year. So I'm sorry for making you go so abruptly again. Who do you got?
It's kind of I'll give one, but I'll say that it's kind of fun that it's hard to come up with an answer here.
Exactly. Here we go. Aidan understood. Okay.
I was running through the roster in my mind. I was like, no, he's been playing great. He's been playing. I guess it's either Connor Williams or whoever's playing right tackle. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of outside of Jordan Lewis.
We'll give you Connor Williams. We're gonna lock you in.
Sure, I'll just lock in at Connor Williams.
He said from Austin, Texas, the gall of Aidan Davis. Wow.
Yeah. But
wow.
Even that, once again, Connor Williams, in my opinion, has been exceeding expectations, at least playing to what we expected. So I think it's fun that I have to half-heartedly throw out Connor Williams, but of every starter, I'd probably say it's Connor Williams.
Okay, Sturch, you are truly going to go last because I'm going to go next. And I'm going to cheat, to be very clear, because that's what I'm doing, because I don't like the question myself. So I am going relative to expectation, kind of the way Aidan did with Connor Williams here. And let me be very clear that my and our collective expectation was enormously high for this player. And I actually am answering a totally different question, but still, it was my question. So, I'll do what I want. This has not been the CeeDee Lamb alpha season that we thought it was going to be. And in fact, the drops have been a little disconcerting, and say what you will about Michael Gallup not being there. I'm in no way, for anybody watching or listening, out on CeeDee Lamb or anything. We've expected more. And I don't think it was a case of anointing him too early. I think it was justified. It just hasn't happened yet. And he's had a little bit more opportunities than we would have thought with Michael Gallup missing time. And there have certainly been some great moments, but we expected, I don't know what we expected. We expected something ridiculous, and we haven't gotten that. Tom, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was this close to stealing your answer. That was what I was sitting there going back and forth. was it justified to say he had failed to live up to the level we expected? So you have a very valid point.
Yeah, and you do need that qualifier, right? Like nobody's saying that CD has played more poorly than Jordan Lewis or Connor Williams or Keanu Neal, but relative, we expected so much, and maybe that's on us, maybe it's not. I mean, I don't know, but it's I mean, he had the game winner against New England. I mean, it's hard to be that hard, but. He's CeeDee Lamb. He's supposed to be that guy that we're supposed to be able to count on for those Super Saiyan moments, and we haven't necessarily gotten them at a steady pace. So, I'm hopeful that that turns the tide. Anybody have anything else to say on the CeeDee Lamb front? You want to jump on Team Tom and RJ? You want to hide in the corner? It's up to you.
No, I would never put. I think CeeDee Lamb is still going to be that dude at the end of the day.
He is, but we're talking about who they've been to this point. Tony, sure. I see you nodding your head.
I feel pretty good about this team if we're saying CeeDee Lamb was one of the disappointments.
That's Aidan's point, right? Like we are, microscopically analyzing here to that point. So that is a good thing overall, which is that was why I asked this question. I wanted to, wanted everybody to feel like, you know what? We've been freaking out for nothing because this is a hard question to answer. And that being said, Sturch, you have the hardest question to answer here. So go ahead, sir.
Well, I mean, you keep saying 22 when technically there's 24 if you count the punter and the kicker. I mean, we said at the very beginning, all three of these other gentlemen will corroborate this, that special teams are not a part of this. We went offense and defense only. Fine. Well, get well soon, Greg. But anyway, I will say when it comes to expectations and thinking of like real positivity coming off of an injury.
Wow. Sturch is saying Dak Prescott. Holy crap.
Sturch is saying Blake Jarwin. I think that because he was listed technically he's listed as tight end 1. He can't obviously Dalton Schultz played great last year in replacement, right? And then you're going into this year and you're thinking, all right, Dalton Schultz will compete with Blake Jarwin because Blake Jarwin's the guy who just got paid, just signed. But I feel like Blake Jarwin, I know he's hurt now and he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks because of the hip. But I feel like expectations wise, you thought that he was going to come back and be a little bit of a barn burner. And I don't see it. I think Dalton Schultz is now the clear cut tight end 1 for Dallas. And now Blake Jarwin, they have completely switched roles is what I'm saying.
Does anybody want to
going into the season? I didn't think that was going to be the case.
Anybody want to defend Sturch? Anybody want to come against him?
Yeah, I agree with it. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah. I just don't know that Jarwin ever really was the starter for the team.
And that's why I think I get Sturch's point, Tom, but it depends on how you viewed the position. Because like at training camp, when we talked about like position battles, that was one that, we thought, is Blake Jarwin going to come back? Is Dalton Schultz going to hold on to this? And so maybe Sturch is coming from a point where he thought Jarwin would be a little bit more involved, and that hasn't happened. That's fair. Okay, cool. And Aidan, did Sturch say something really stupid or really great?
No, I mean, I completely agree with that. I mean, I didn't even consider Jarwin because when I was running through the roster, I thought tight end Dalton Schultz, he's fine. But
yeah,
I mean, yes, he was.
We're all clear here.
No, I mean, coming into this season, I actually had Blake Jarwin in a couple of fantasy leagues because I was like, if he lives up to the hype of 2020, this guy's gonna pop off and he's gonna be insane. So I completely agree with it.
Aiden's really nice. Sturch.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Does anybody have any Cowboys related things that if they don't say them now, you will not sleep for the rest of the week?
Yeah.
Tom was quick. Okay.
Yeah. If whatever they do with the kicker, all they need is someone to make the kickoffs out of the end zone, because otherwise, if they're in field goal range, go for it on 4th down. That's the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether Vic Fangio supports it or not, right? For sure. Okay. Anybody else have anything to add here?
I just wanted to piggyback off of a conversation we were having about 20 minutes ago about Mike McCarthy bouncing back after a double-digit loss. Aidan, I have to ask you, since you're the numbers guy and you're the guy who came up with this stat, how many times has Mike McCarthy lost by double digits? Like, what's the sample size? Like, there's percentages, which is great, which I love the breakdown. And I love the fact that he's 60+% winning percentage. Great. But how many times, like, are we going to have to go through this a lot? Or,
So it was 2007 to 2018. It was 23 times. So granted, there were a couple bad Green Bay teams in there. So it was,
true.
understandable.
I was just curious to know the sample size. Like if we're all worried about bounce back wins, that's great. But how many times does McCarthy have to do this? Is what I'm saying. So that's not an alarming number. It's not a number that you kind of like, you're smiling. Oh, that's not nothing, but it's not that bad. Like not that bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I mean, to that point though, Sturch, like just because it's a double-digit loss doesn't, and you can play this game forever, but like I think we would all rather be Cowboys fans having lost by double digits to the Broncos than the Bills having lost by 3 points to the Jaguars. Would we not? Like would you feel better because the margin of defeat was a little bit more narrow there?
No, I think that losing to the Broncos is a lot. Yeah, that sits better with me than losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. And I think that everybody did us a solid favor except for the Giants for whatever reason, who pulled off whatever they pulled off against the Raiders. But I think everybody else kind of followed suit, and to see the Titans that's what made me go into this week not as crazy or panicked like a lot of Cowboys Nation, which I read on Twitter, which were like, oh my God, the wheels are falling off. And I'm like, well, the Rams just got the doors blown off them at home too. So everybody just calm down. And I want to say a lesser team because I think the Titans will be in it towards the end. But I don't really put too much stock into the panic that is after a Broncos game like that.
The true shame in the aftermath of last week is that people will say the red stripe is cursed when it looked beautiful. Tom, I know you agree. So, hey, it is what it is. And speak now, forever hold your peace. Anybody? Going once.
About this week in particular?
About anything you want in the world, Sturch. I mean,
anything? Okay. Well, listen, you got to feed the homeless. No, I would have to say for Cowboys fans that are tuning in right now or listening to the podcast, as far as your panic level, it should never there's been a word that we've been all kind of discussing and throwing out there about this Cowboys team is that it's a special team. There's a special feeling in the air. And because of a letdown against a decent Broncos team, I'm telling you, they're not the walkover. They started off 3-0. I know they didn't beat
their
anybody.
Offensive EPA per play was impressive, Aidan. I mean, we kind of saw that coming. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but we said this is not, the Giants or Washington or something.
Correct. And I think that the panic level needs to just kind of ease up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, now somebody tried to correct me on Twitter, but I thought I read that after the 2018 debacle against the Colts, where we got shut out, Dak Prescott had one of his worst games. The following week, he followed it up with a 5-touchdown performance.
That was the Tampa Bay game when the Cowboys won the division. Great performance. I believe that is the highest completion percentage of his career, that game.
With that being said, let's get on that train again. Let's get a little optimistic here, people. Calm down.
Okay. Sturch gave his last word. Anybody have anything else? Anybody?
I'll say one thing is after Dan Campbell lost to the Eagles, there was a report, and I don't know if this is actually true, but he literally buried the tape. Like he took the tape and literally buried it.
Classic football guy move, right?
I would love. Yeah, I know Mike McCarthy's kind of one for antics with the watermelons. I would love to hear a report that there was like a funeral ceremony for the tape, and like this week's behind us. That's the only thing.
I would love that too, but because he's Mike McCarthy, he would get dragged for that, and people would talk about how cartoony it was and stuff like that. So, but because Dan Campbell's cool, it's funny. So just kind of life in the NFL. Tony, Tom, you don't want to give final words like the other people here?
I already did.
Oh, that's right. Tony, you want to be the only one? Really?
Listen, just get the 7-2. Just relax.
Worst hand in poker.
Listen, that's it. Just win. Just win. That's it.
Good advice from Coach Catalina right there. The handsome man, the winner of tonight's stream. Actually, you're all winners. Tony's handsome. Tom is bright. Aidan is a genius. Sturch, congratulations on the birth of your baby boy. Get some sleep, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe to the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Blog of the Boys podcast network, wherever you get your podcast. Leave a rating, write a review, or all four of these gentlemen will be sad for the rest of their lives, and you do not want that to be the case. Thank you all. We'll see you next time.